also have been defined. And lastly, integration, whether it is horizontal with organon, materia medica, or vertical. So wherever the integration is possible, we have integrated. We have not put integration in all the topics. There are some topics where integration comes. That is where the integration will take place. For example, posology, organon. Then drug proving, organon. Pharmacological action, materia medica, anatomy and physiology. Likewise, the integration will take place. Any difficulties, questions as of now? Yes.
Sir, one question is that this competency table, whatever you have mentioned right now.
Yes.
We are in a specifically looking for all the 25 topics which are covered up till now, what we are taking in the syllabus.
Yes.
Now each topic will be having this competency table prepared by the NCH.
Yes.
Okay, number one. This is number one query. Second query is that whatever TLC methods, that is teaching learning methods have been adopted.
Yes.
These teaching learning methods adopted will be given by NCH.
Yes.
Is it compulsory that it should be followed as per the NCH rules, or we have to keep some record of that or something like that?
See, if you are following a teaching learning method, record is automatically.
No, as per the NCH, whatever TLC they are doing.
Yes, so you can choose any of the teaching learning methods and you can have a record of that.
Okay, fine. Secondly, last one is the evaluation, formative and summative. Coming to that,
yes.
Summative exam is the final exam. As per now, as everyone will agree to this.
Yes.
Now, you are committed to formative exam. Formative exam is a semester exam type or the
yes.
internal assessment.
Yes.
Now, the question comes, how are you going to divide the homework?
It will come. Yes.
So there is a disparity between the three terms, that is first, second and third. First term consists of 70 lectures and second term is 21 and third term is 9 lectures.
Yes.
Course.
Yes.
Now in first term there are 70 lectures.
Yes. Because clinical posting comes into play. Third.
In second and third.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So it will be up to the college to make the timetable. We'll come to that point also. Yeah.
So you are going to divide the timetable.
Yes.
First semester, second semester, third semester, like that.
Yeah, we can see.
You can see.
We will. Timetable, how to formulate is totally up to the college, how the timetable needs to be formulated. A sample template, we will show a sample template. It is rest up to the college how to formulate the timetable.
Because so then it will be different according to the different semesters.
Yes.
Internal marks have been finalized. 10.
Okay. Final.
10.
Yes.
Internal marks.
Yes, we'll come to it. So as of now, what difficulties? Any difficulties? It is with the final document is yet to come in public though. Yes. So just an overview, the Miller's pyramid, the Bloom's taxonomy and the Gilbert's level. So we all know it is knows how, shows how and does. Here it is cognitive, affective and psychomotor, and here it is recall, remember, understanding and problem solving. Then is immediate control and automatism, and next is receive, respond and internalize. Yeah. Go ahead. Now we will understand the competency tables with few examples. Potentization and scales of potentization. So, if we apply the different points of the competencies table here, to have that complete table would have it will be not be visible. That's why we have split the columns as per this thing. But in the final draft, entire table will be in the tabulate format. So each and every column you will see the columns as per in the table. So it will be very easy to see. Learning outcomes. So at the end of topic of potentization, first BHMS must be able to prepare homeopathic medicine according to the scale. So that is our outcome, that he must be able to prepare the homeopathic medicine as per the scale. unique number. So 24th topic in the syllabus is potentization. So it becomes home UGHP first 24 and then 1, 2, 3, 4. That is SLOs 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then generic competencies at the end of the topic of potentization, problem solution. What is the problem? Making the medicine. So problem solution becomes, he must have the knowledge first, integration of knowledge, practice based learning and improvement. He has to practice trituration, succussion, taking the succussions. Then synthesis and application of knowledge. So even he has the knowledge of trituration, succussion, he has to apply it while preparing the medicine. Classroom to lab. We are teaching potentization in the classroom, but he has to now apply it in the laboratory and practical skills, because practical demonstration is required for potentization. This is how the generic competencies have been defined for each and every topic. So this is an example of potentization. What will be the generic competencies required? So he must have the knowledge, he must be able to apply the knowledge, integrate, synthesize the knowledge, problem solving, classroom to lab transfer, as well as practical skills.
Integration of knowledge, there you have got an organism. It's fitted with an organism.
Yes, integration of knowledge. So here all the different integrations can come. Subject area becomes potentization. Specific competencies what required will be, he must be able to prepare homeopathic medicine according to the scale. Very specific. So earlier it is just problem solving, integration. Now we are coming down to the specific competency that he must be able to prepare the homeopathic medicine as per the scale. Integration, as madam has rightly pointed out, horizontal integration with organon of medicine, because potentization will be discussed and taught in organon of medicine. So this is how the template gets formed. So we have the generic competencies, we have the specific competencies, we have the SLOs, we have also have the integration. Now coming to the table. So here you will be having the specific learning objectives. Then you have the Miller's level, whether it is nose, shows how, knows how and knows how, shows how and does. Then each and every SLO has been divided over the Bloom's domain, whether it is falls in cognitive, psychomotor and affective. Then the Gilbert's level has been defined. Then whether it must be, it must know, desirable to know and nice to know. Teaching learning methods, assessment divided into formative assessment and summative assessment. So this is, if we go now, for example, potentization. First is explain the different scales of potentization. So he must have the knowledge of the scales, explain. That comes under knows. So he has the knowledge, he knows the knowledge about the scales of potentization. That falls under cognitive domain. Pure knowledge, it comes under level 2. If he has the understanding of the scales, then he will be able to explain the scales. So it falls under level 2. It is must know, of course. He must know the scales of potentization, because going forward he has to prepare the medicine as per the scale. Then coming to the second SLO, explain the methods of potentization. So again he must know that there are two methods of potentization. He must be explained both the methods of potentization, trituration and succussion. Knows falls under cognitive domain. Level 2 again understanding. If he has no understanding about trituration, succussion, he will not be able to explain what are the methods of potentization. Again it is must know. He must know trituration and he must know what is succussion. Next, select the appropriate vehicles used for potentization. Again, does is now is able to select. It falls under cognitive, level 3 problem solving. So now he has to select the vehicle. He has the knowledge, he has to now select the vehicle. If you put in front of him different vehicles and ask him, he must be able to select sugar or milk for trituration. He must be able to select purified water for class 5A, 5B for example. So likewise he has to select the definite vehicle. It falls under again cognitive domain. He has the knowledge, but it is on the higher level of Gilbert's level, which is problem solving. Yeah.
Very generic representation that theory follows fast coming. With that specificity you need to have theory exam.
Question formation should be written, whether it is long question, short question, or MCQ.
So that be clear with that. That is one thing. It cannot be just simply because we are only explaining, it has to be like that. So when we are implementing, it has to be either SAP or MCQ. When you say practical examination, the practical examination, there are various ways that we can conduct the practical examination. You don't simply give an experiment, say that do this. There are some components in it. What are those components that you are going to select for it? How do you distribute that? There could be a checklist, like the student is doing this or not doing this. And there could be a rating scale to what extent the student is doing that. So these two are usually the instruments that we use, rating scale and checklist. You can use them also as the instruments. Right? And the NCS people will send you the presentations. In that, the list of tools which were there, which are presented, you can select which is appropriate for the practical exam. So that was specificity. Thank you.
Next is demonstrate trituration according to the scale of potentization. Now it comes to the psychomotor domain. Now he is going to demonstrate how trituration is to be done. He is going to do the trituration. Therefore, he is going to show, it comes under shows how, it falls under psychomotor. At the end, he has to only do in the experiment, he has to have full automatism as to how trituration is done. Therefore, the level is automatism, and it is again a must know in the practical examination. Next SLO which has been the competency which has been defined is demonstrate suppression according to the scale. Again shows how, psychomotor, must know, and level 3 automatism. So how many suppressions are to be taken, how the suppressions are to be given, everything he must know, and he must be able to give the suppressions without even seeing the teacher giving the suppressions. Next, prepare 8x liquid from 6x triturate jumping potency. Again shows how, comes under psychomotor domain, level 3 automatism. It must be known what is jumping potency, how jumping potency is prepared. And lastly, demonstrate care and commitment in preparing medicine with accuracy. So when he is preparing the medicine as per trituration or as per the scale, he must be showing care, commitment, accuracy. Even the measurements here and there, it won't be according to the scale. And we know that when we are talking about care, commitment, values, it falls under the affective domain. So the last SLO or the competency falls under affective domain. The last is nice to know. So even if the student shows we are happy if the student knows that care should be taken or commitment should be shown while preparing the homeopathic medicine. Next, coming to the teaching learning methods. So all the major cognitive SLOs or competencies which are there, they can be taught by lectures. They can be taught again in practicals. You can revise whatever has been taught. You can have small group discussions or teaching, peer teaching. You may have problem-based learning based on potentization. You must have student seminars. You can give seminars of potentization to the students. Student presents the topic at the end. And you have study tour or field visit. So when you go to the field visit, they will see how trituration is done, how medicines are prepared, and lastly integrated teaching with organon of medicine. So these are the list of teaching learning methods which have been proposed for the topic of potentization. Any of these teaching learning methods can be used. It is not compulsory again to that all the 7 teaching learning methods need to be used. This is a guidance to help the teachers that what different innovative teaching learning methods can be utilized. All of us are taking practicals and lectures, but then as told in the morning sessions, the different teaching learning methods also need to be included. Problem-based learning must be included, integrated teaching must be included so that the holistic knowledge is achieved. Next, practical demonstration and procedural skills training. So for the practicals, we have the procedural skills and the practicals. So that itself becomes the teaching learning method for practicals. Coming to the formative assessment, You can have structured oral examination, can have assignments, tutorials, you can have SQs, LAQs and MCQs. So you can give MCQs to a student on potentization, you can have SQs, you have LAQs, you can give assignments, tutorials, assess the tutorials. Structured oral exam means you form a definite questions on potentization. Each and every student is given prior hand. So these are for the cognitive domain. As Munir sir has said, DOPS or SPI become the checklist. DOPS means direct observation of the practical skills. OSPI means objective structured practical examination. These are the newer assessment methods. They require checklist. Checklist, how the checklist are prepared, everything, every knowledge is there on the internet. You can just go, see it, take down, form your checklist, validate it and use the checklist for your students. For example, the student is just standing at the end giving suggestions. I have the checklist in hand, how the suggestions need to be given. There are 10 questions of the checklist. I just stand over here, the student is performing the suggestion. I just take or give one mark for each and every step. So if he is holding the bottle properly, if he has the leather pad in the other hand, if his hand is totally extended, how the suggestions need to be governed, downward strokes ending into a jerk, we all know this. Whether the student also knows this, he has been told in the classroom, whether he is giving the suggestions properly. So that is what is known as direct observation of practical skills. OSPI, objective structured practical examination. Different stations can be formed, different checklists can be formed. Again, you can test the practical skills through OSPI. So this is regarding, and if you are having a problem-based learning also can be assessed. So how good the student participated in the problem, how whether he was able to answer, whether he was able to collate the knowledge, all assessment methods are there. And lastly, as Munir sir has said, summative examination, you have the theory as well as the viva voce to have judge the cognitive part. So for the cognitive part, you have the theory exam, you have the viva voce. If he writes in the exam, if he answers in the viva, that means he has knowledge about that particular topic. And the practical skills will be through the practical examination. So how the practical examination, again all details will be told in the later slides. So this is regarding one topic of potentization. Any difficulties up till now? Everybody is fine with? Lesson plan. Now, since the morning, Dr. Munir sir, Vipin Jain as well as Dr. Dharmendra Sharma sir has talked about lesson plan. So, before teaching potentization, tomorrow is my lecture on potentization. Today my lesson plan should be ready. Why? We are seeing that a CPDC is more systematic way. Where is the systematic way? This is how the systematic way comes. Lesson plan is derived directly from the competencies which have been defined. It is derived directly from the competency table. So it is nothing. I think template will be shared. Universal template now will be given by the NCH. You have to just fit the SLOs, the teaching learning methods and the assessment. Lesson plan is no different. It contains your SLOs. It contains how it will be taught and how they will be assessed. For example, if you see over here now, this is the name of the college will be there. For example, this is how we use the lesson plan in our college. Now we will be using whatever the uniform template will be formed. Then it has the course, it has the academic year and batches. Now it has the topic, potentization. Out of the potentization, I am not going to teach potentization in one lecture. So in potentization, today I am going to start with trituration. So under the topic comes the lesson title, which is trituration. Next, from trituration, what is my learning outcomes for my particular lecture? So we have been seeing for the topic, now the lesson plan is for that particular lecture. So after my 1 hour lecture of today, what I am expecting from the student, that will be there in the lesson plan. And it will be relevant to the topic which you are teaching today. If you are teaching the topic next week and you are including that in today's lesson plan, it does not have any relevance. So today's lesson plan will have the learning outcome which is expected from that particular lecture. Next will be the SLOs. So you must be able to define trituration, you must be able to enumerate objects of trituration, explain the details and advantages and disadvantages of trituration. So if I teach trituration today, this is what I expect the student at the end of 1 hour. He must be able to define, explain, and so on. Next, the teaching learning methods. So I'll be using PPTs, I'll be using group discussions, flipped classroom, etc. So whatever teaching learning methods you are going to use, those should be reflected in the lesson plan. It is just a model. So it is not that everything should be as per this, it is just the model of a lesson plan. Lesson plan is not included in the official document. This is just how the CBDC template can be now practically implemented in the classroom. Next, 60 minutes. 60 minutes systematic way divided into 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, so on. So 5 minutes I will take to introduce the topic. Next 10 minutes SLO 1. Next 10 minutes SLO 2. So each SLO should be given few specific timings. So if I have 7 SLOs, those SLOs over 60 minutes should be divided. Then you will have a complete understanding how you are going to teach. The student also will have a complete understanding what is expected at the end of the lecture. Lastly, what resources you are going to use. So lectures, small group discussions, integrated whatever, and assessment methods. So whether you are at the end of the lecture, you can give SAQs, LAQs, you can give MCQs, assignments, tutorials, that comes under the assessment method. And last part is the learning resources. So if you are using textbook, which textbook, what is the edition, which page it is given. If you are using journal articles, which is the journal, what is the issue number, volume number, and who is the author of that particular article. If you are using websites, the URL of the websites. This is for, yes, this is for theory, and this becomes for, yes.
So what about the chapter which is there, like sources of drug?
Yes.
In that how to discuss it?
Yeah. Because the sources of drug, for example, plant source. Will come to that later on. Yeah. So this is again a practical demonstration. Now that was the lesson plan for theory. This becomes for practical. Practical now in our college is of 2 hours. It may differ from college to college. So we have 120 minutes of practicals, 2 hours. So how those 120 minutes will be divided when I am teaching about jumping potency for example. So if he has to do jumping potency today in the practical, how that 120 hours will be divided over for the jumping potency. The columns remain the same. You have the learning outcomes, you have the SLOs defined in the lesson plan, you have the activity description, you have the resources, you have the assessment method, the teaching learning methods. Lastly, you have to use the give the resources. So this is how the CBDC template of potentization now can be practically implemented in your lecture or in your practical. So if you are teaching trituration, what are your SLOs, or whether they are reflected in the lesson plan, what are the teaching learning methods you are going to use, what are the assessment methods you are going to use, to see that at the end of that particular topic the student has achieved, and then at the end of the lecture or the topic he has achieved those many competencies or that many SLOs.
You have not further divided it, the specific assessment.
नहीं, okay.
Because इसके पहले का जो template है,
हाँ.
उसमें there are different SLOs at a different level.
Yes, yes.
Cognitive है, psychomotor है.
Yes.
तो उसके assessment
Yes.
proportionately because वो खाली ये
ये lesson का है. Yes.
template पूरा करने वाले हैं.
हाँ. So assessment of potentization. So if you want to have MCQs on potentization, you can ask, for example, conversion of 6x. This is just an example. So how assessment, so if I am teaching jumping potency or the topics on potentization today, I want to assess. You can give MCQs. You can have SAQs, describe the modified techniques of potentization, and LAQs, for example. And then for practicals, after practicals, you can have an assessment, give 9 questions. Your method of assessment will be taught. That is direct observation of the practical skills. So this is how the assessment can be planned from topic to topic. to see whether the required competencies can be are being achieved by the students. So you can have LAQs, you can have SQs, you can have MCQs, you can have DOBs, you can have OSPI. So all the different assessment methods can be used for assessing particular competencies in the which have been given in the competency table. So this was one example of potentization. Any difficulties up till now? Are we okay to proceed forward? Because I have taken 2-3 examples, so it will be very much easier to understand how different topics, how the different SLOs can be formed. Yeah.
Madam, our rate management have created for this.
Yes.
It will be more useful.
Yes. Now coming to the drug proving. Now, if I would have not gone, now I am not gone to the next. Okay, learning outcomes. So at the end of the topic of drug proving, first Bhms student must be able to prove a given drug on a healthy human being. Serial numbers are given. Generic competencies: integration of knowledge, synthesis, application of knowledge, problem solving, and integration of knowledge. What can be the specific competencies for drug proving? Yes, prover. Knowledge of a prover. He must be able to design the protocol. If he wants to take up a project, he must be able to prove the drug, for example. So these are the specific competencies related to drug proving.
Basic requirements of the drug proving.
Yes, basic requirements of the drug proving, because during internship again proving of a drug was there, so it becomes compulsory. So that here a specific competency he must have. So for that he must have SLOs. Then what will be the SLOs for drug proving?
Like there is
Definition of
ways
the definition of the drug proving.
Yes, define drug proving.
Prerequisites
Prerequisites of a prover.
Object of drug proving.
Yes, methodology of drug proving. So all these will become automatically the specific learning objectives.
And then you like must know.
Yes.
So in the cognitive and
Cognitive, psychomotor, affective,
Yes.
and then must know, desirable to know, nice to know, whether it falls in Gilbert's level 1, 2, 3 of each and every domain. Subject area will be drug proving. Integration again with organon of medicine. This will be, for example, define drug proving, illustrate the qualities of an ideal prover, apply. Now, first to define drug proving, it will be knows, he must know, he knows it. It is cognitive, it is level 1, just recall, he has to just define it, and it is must know. Second, he must be able to illustrate the qualities of an ideal prover. Again, it is knows, he knows the qualities of an ideal prover, he is able to illustrate it. Cognitive level 1, he has to just recall, illustrate, and it is again must know. Next, apply the selection of criteria, inclusion, exclusion for provers during drug proving. So if he wants to tomorrow go and design a protocol for drug proving, he has to apply that, whatever he has learned, what is the inclusion criteria, what is the exclusion criteria for selection of provers. It becomes cognitive because he is using the knowledge, he is showing how the inclusion exclusion criteria can be defined and applying, but it becomes at level 3. That is problem solving. It is desirable to know. So we are not expecting that each and every student must know how to apply the knowledge of include or exclusion criteria. If some students are bright enough and they want to design a protocol, then desirable to know. Again, it comes under the cognitive domain. Next, as we all have discussed, explain the methodology of drug proving. It comes under understanding level 2. Cognitive domain knows, and it's again must know, he must know the methodology. Design the protocol for drug proving. It does. It designs the protocol, he has the knowledge. Level 3, problem solving, nice to know. Not all students will be expected to design the protocol for drug proving. It is nice to know, it comes under level 3. All these are cognitive domains, so similar teaching learning methods can be used. Student seminars,